Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. Today I'm going to give an announcement for next month. This was created by Mark at Book Time with Elvis, and the name of the event is Doctor No Vember, where you are encouraged to read about the Cold War, roughly from the Russian Revolution to the fall of the Berlin Wall. That would be 1917, 1991, about that. Adjust as necessary. But books that feature espionage and the whole Cold War era. Now, I came of age in the 1980s, so I am familiar with the Cold War. And I do like some Cold War fiction and nonfiction, because you can read some nonfiction for this group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some suggestions of Cold War books, and then tell you what my TBR is tentatively. And the number one book for the Cold War is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carre. John le Carre is one of the most famous espionage novelists who ever lived. And I think this is just a perfect little novel. It is about, Alec Lamus, and it starts off with him on the border of East Berlin, watching a wall. He's supposed to have an agent coming across, and that agent is shot dead. And that's all the plot I'm going to give you, because it is a very interesting plot. Technically, this is a George Smiley novel. I believe it is the fourth George Smiley novel. But George Smiley is a character in the background. That's all I'm going to say. Absolutely great novel. This will also be a group read. I'm not sure how we're going to do the group read yet, other than we all plan to read this book. The Company by Robert Littell. He is known as the American Le Carre. And this is a big novel. It spans more than 40 years of the CIA, known as The Company. And at the heart of this novel is that there is a mole in the CIA. And you get MI6, the KGB, and Mossad all involved trying to ferret out who is the mole in the CIA. Berlin Game by Len Deighton. This is the first of the Bernard Samson series. I believe it was originally a trilogy called Game, Set, Match. And I have read this book a long time ago. I've always wanted to continue with the rest of the trilogy, but I've never gotten around to it yet. And this is Bernard Samson, who's being passed over for promotions by more ambitious colleagues. And there's a valued agent in East Berlin. And he is going to prove his worth. Now, I did guess the ending of this book, but that's no problem. It is a good novel. The Soul of Viktor, Tronko by David Quammen. This is a Nancy Pearl book lust rediscovery. It is the story of a journalist who is visited by an ex-CIA agent. And he's telling the story of Viktor Tronko, a defectee from the Soviet Union. And this defectee, Viktor Tronko, says there is no mole in the CIA, and that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't hired by the Soviet Union to assassinate the president. However, shortly after this meeting, the CIA agent dies. He is murdered. And now the journalist must discover the truth about Viktor Tronko. Another one. This is going to be a little controversial. This is Harlot's Ghost by Norman Mailer. Norman Mailer is more known for his literary works. And while this is Cold War fiction, it is also a literary work literary work. It is also over 1,000 pages long. It is also supposedly the first book of a duology. And Norman Mailer died before he finished the second volume. So it's going to end in the middle of a story, and you're just going to have to live with it because Mailer is dead. And this is the story of Harry Hubbard, who has a family history working with the CIA. And of course, there's moles involved. I truly enjoyed it. It was fun, even if incomplete. And for a work of nonfiction, I'm going to say The Spy and the Traitor, the greatest espionage story of the Cold War by Ben Macintyre. Ben Macintyre is basically the nonfiction equivalent of John le Carre. And there is an infamous double agent working in the Kremlin. And this agent in the Kremlin is going to be outed. And so he has to be taken out of the Soviet Union. And it's an exciting story, and even more exciting because it is a true story. And now, what books am I going to be reading for Doctor No Vember? So what books am I going to be reading for Doctor No Vember? I have already mentioned The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, but I'm also going to be reading Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy by John le Carre. This is the 5th novel in the George Smiley series. This is one that I have not read. I have been meaning to read this book for a long time. My wife read it years ago, and her comment was, this book is so smart, you really need a college degree to understand it. Because le Carre can get very detailed, as I understand, and complicated plot. So I'm excited to read this one. So there are 2 le Carre novels that I'm going to be reading this month, or in November. Second one I want to read is a James Bond novel, because this is named after Dr. No. Unfortunately, in the United States, the copies of James Bond novels that you can buy have been boulderized. That means that a sensitivity reader has gone through the text and removed inappropriate language and scenes. I'm not going for that. However, there is a couple solutions. One, you can find them in a used bookstore. Not that easy to find. And when you do, or at least if you find them online, they can be quite pricey. However, Ian Fleming is in the public domain in Canada. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm also going to be reading The Once and Future Spy by Robert Littell. I just discovered this novel today as I was doing research for this video. Because as I said, I really liked his novel, The Company. And it was on sale for Kindle for $2.99. I could not refuse that deal. So this is about an elite plot within the CIA. It is secret, it is dangerous, it is not supposed to have a paper trail. However, details have been leaked. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. Because I think this is going to be a really fun book. So that is what I am going to be reading for Doctor No Vember. If you want to participate, all you have to do is read one book about the Cold War. It can be fiction or it can be nonfiction. It just has to be about the Cold War. Well, I hope a lot of people choose to join this reading event because it promises to be a lot of fun. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.